but I would have maybe made a lesson out of that and say, excuse me, it's a debate. This is not a brain tank. This is not brainstorming. This is not free flow where you just say whatever comes to your mind. I think I would have pointed out the weakness versus going to his level, sinking to his level.
Sure.
And I think that's what I would have done to put myself to stay high. And I would have just said, you're not answering the question, so may I? Okay. And may I answer the question without being interrupted, if that's okay with you?
Sure.
Because you're talking, but you're not saying anything, and I would really like to answer the question, if that's okay. Well, and I think something like that would have pointed out, again, the weakness, while also demonstrating that he has answers to the questions and he can keep his composure.
Sure.
But do you guys think that's like his strategy? Because I don't think I've ever heard Trump answer a question. He always come back with like a threatening comment or something negative about the person he's speaking to, or he brings up a whole nother topic.
Well, he doesn't.
What ended up happening last night was, honestly, it looked like there was just no control. After a while, it was just so much back and forth because, again, if you sink down to a certain level, and I'm not saying he was not provoked by no means. I'm not even saying it wasn't warranted. But what I am saying is that when you sink down to a level instead of staying and being consistent at a standard, then what happens is everything else sinks as well. And so at that point, it started to look like it was back and forth. And I was like, they just need to get Dwayne Rock Johnson to be the moderator next time. They need to bring in some real heavy machinery.
Well, let me ask this question. Now, do you remember when they had the first debate with the president and Hillary Clinton? And it appeared she was trying to take the high road, but the perception was when she did that she seemed weak. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? I want to hear from all three of you. What do you think about that?
Well, I was at the beauty shop today, and I was just taking a poll of what everyone thought about the debate last night. And some people had, said that Biden looked kind of weak, because Trump dominated the conversation. I was like, well, he never answered a question, though. So how can Biden look weak if Trump never answered any of the questions that was given to him?
Right.
It's just like he was more aggressive with the conversation. That's all.
Right. And people look different, look at things differently. And that's one of the things that I had to learn, in having been in politics and having to appeal to a lot of different folks. Everybody's not thinking like we are thinking all the time, and everybody's not looking. So what we're looking at as he's a fool, and somebody else is like, he's my fool. They just like, they love it. That's what they want to see. And,
right.
and they, they don't understand. A lot of folks don't really understand politics. A lot of people, still are under the illusion, which I think some of the things that some of his tax stuff is going to show, that he really isn't the greatest deal maker. He really isn't that great a businessman. He really, like most folks, he's trying to act like he's hit a home run when he was born on third base. And he's just kind of run on in because he's been handed so much. And people think, they just like ignorance. Some people just like ignorance. They just used to it.
You're right, because some people said they never watched the debate before and they just wanted to tune in to see how it was going to go down. Right. They knew it would be like a comedy show. Right.
And at the end of the day, it's like, you don't understand. This comedy show, this happens, and when it starts getting real, is when you start thinking about the pandemic. When you start looking at, anybody, like Joe Biden was saying last night, that's the stuff that makes a difference. Like who's looking at an empty place at a dinner table because somebody died from COVID. By the way, this dude botched this up and mismanaged it. Now, how cute is all of that? Everybody's been affected by this thing. It stopped people from going out. It stopped people from doing what they normally do. Of course, some fools are still running around out there like it's nothing, but right. It's real deal. I think to your question, Chief, about when Hillary was there were a couple things at play. one, there's the male female dynamic. So, they're going to think, some folks are going to think weak anyway. When they see women, they're going to think weak. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's what they think. And and he's towering over her, and he's coming in and standing, next to her. So there are different dynamics there. Here, the white male, it's a little different. But he's just, he is like you remember when you were at school and you knew the dude who was tough and who was bully, but he would act out to keep from being found out because he didn't know the stuff in school. He couldn't do the stuff in school. He knew a test was coming. He knew his ass didn't study. He knew he didn't know none of the material on the test, but he knew he had to go to school and show up and take that test. So knowing that he didn't know anything and couldn't stand the risk of failing, he would come in and act out, just act crazy and get thrown out of class and get sent to the principal's office, go home, whatever. He didn't have to take that test and didn't have to deal with the embarrassment of knowing that he didn't know nothing on that test.
Sure.
And pretty much that's what we saw Donald Trump do last night. He was that cat at school who said, I ain't study. I ain't gonna study. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I'm coming in and that's it. And, I'm punching you below the belt. I'm punching you in the back of the head. I'm swinging there. Joe's trying to jab and stand upright. And he's like kicking him in the neck. And, all kind of craziness.
Sure.
And everybody like,
not the neck kick.
Yeah, that's right. Kick him in the neck. Well, also let me
telling Joe to bob and weave. That's how we
That's right.
Stick and move, bob and weave.
And also let me remind everyone, you can call in if you like at 240-508-8095. Again, that's 240-508-8095. We'd love to hear from you. And Simi, let me ask you one last question. In light of all of the, I guess, the perspectives that have been going back and forth about the debate, of course, each side is saying they won. Everyone is associated with the various camps are claiming victory in terms of getting the message out and all those types of things. But from your perspective and what you've been hearing, was there any type of effective messaging? And do you see the debate last night impacting those undecided voters and impacting voters in either camp? Do you think any Biden folks said, yeah, this guy was kind of weak, I'm out of here? Or do you think any Trump folks were like, this guy is off the chain, I'm out of here? Or do you think any undecided folks finally said, okay, now I know the guy that I'm voting for?
That's a real good question. I think just in terms of how things have been with Trump supporters, there is nothing he can say or do that persuades them because his ticket, a lot of people in Vegas received the presidential yay and nay, the candidates, and what they stand for, their platform. And his followers, his supporters, they are very supportive of his platform. So it doesn't matter what he says. They're not swayed one way or the other. That's what it appears, even in, CNN and different news reporting stations. I think for the people that were on the fence about voting, I do believe they probably will go with Biden because even though it was really hard to get a clear message from the debate and it was more back and forth than anything else, he did bring up some really good points about how President Trump responded to different crises in America. And that's one of the biggest things, that's one of the biggest challenges and issues is, are we going to have a good leader, and is our leader going to be able to lead us and not make things worse? Is he going to know how to bring peace and also help us be a progressive people and get promotions back, get us back in a good, peaceful state? And he made some really strong points about how Trump failed to respond in some areas and things like that. And I believe because he brought those things to the forefront, people that were on the fence would say, wow, that was a good point. I didn't see him do X, Y, and Z. And he didn't answer the question. And he still did not answer the question. And that is what's going to move those people. But people that support Trump, they're going to support Trump because his platform is strong. And when I say strong, I mean in the sense that there's no gray area. It's just, this is what it is, and this is what I believe, and that's it. And that's his platform is strong. When it comes to Biden's platform, it's a kind of like a free for all, but at the same time, his leadership, that what he demonstrated was strong, and I believe that's what's going to get those that were on the fence. They're going to most likely go with Biden, and that's what I think.
Real quick, Timmy, before we let you go.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I love the show.
Well, thank you. Wait a minute. She had one question for you.
Okay.
Before you go, who do you believe won last night?
I believe Biden won that round hands down.
Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Great call. Thank you for listening. Well, that's one opinion that we've gotten, and of course that's pretty consistent with what the reporting has been saying. I'm talking about I watched a little bit of Fox News, and they were saying that they thought the president was very take charge like and the like, and then of course I watched CNN and MSNBC. And they were saying the same about Vice President Biden. So, but that's not surprising. I would have been surprised to have heard either side saying, "Oh, we blew it last night." You know, we're throwing this thing in. So, again, do you think there will be a second debate, Shannon and Thin Bad?
Do I think it'll be a second debate? It probably will be. Should it be another debate? No, unless they're muting mics.
Yeah, I mean, it's no. What's the point? I mean, and that they're not going to get anything. You know, here's what I'm saying. I don't believe that there's anybody who's undecided. I don't believe there's anybody who's undecided. And folks know what they're undecided about is whether or not they want to let your ass know they're voting for Trump. That's what they're undecided about. I think it's not even like it's close. It's not like, well, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. If they're undecided, they're undecided about whether or not they're going to vote at all. But they're not undecided about who, because the choice is clear. In my mind, I don't believe there's anybody undecided. They might say so, but I don't believe anybody's undecided. I think they know. What the hell else more do you need to see from that man? I mean,
right. I don't need to see nothing else. He really doesn't have to get up and speak ever again.
Right. The man said when he was running in 20, I could go in New York and shoot somebody and still get elected. I mean, when somebody is that arrogant and that crazy, what the hell else do you need to see?
Well,
I mean, to make up your mind. And if it's that hard to make up your mind, I don't want your ass voting for me. Then go ahead, stay on the other side. Go where you're going to go. What you're going to do. I don't need that kind of ignorance in my camp.
Well, let me throw this out to you and Shannon. Now, you know, obviously, the president had his own way of communicating with his people. Now, do you think that he was either a master communicator and, he just knew what to tap into? And B, do you think that the Democrats got caught asleep at the wheel?
No, I don't think the Democrats got caught at the wheel. I believe they came with an agenda and ready to talk about topics versus the Republicans wasn't. Like Sinbad said, I mean, Wendell said, when he came in, he didn't have an agenda. He just came in to not answer questions and to talk around everything else.
That's his strategy, is to, distract. His strategy is not to have a strategy. He operates well in chaos. He doesn't operate well in order. He operates well in chaos. But I just don't know how you can work for somebody like that. Like, there used to be a time when working in the White House was prestigious. Before now, you want that on your resume and like, oh, you could name your ticket. But now, dude, I wouldn't mind working in the White House either, but not for that fool. You know, I wouldn't want. No, I was like, did you work for the Trump? Which administration? Trump? Oh, no, that's all right. Well, how could you stay?